radar, but he's back. It's a blue-black Heartless Summoning. For those of you who aren't familiar with this archetype, basically once you have Heartless Summoning in play, you have a bunch of value creatures like Solemn Simulacrum, Wormcoil Engine, Perilous Mirror, and so on that become significantly more efficient and powerful with Heartless Summoning in play. He also has a Trading Post engine, I guess you can call it, although it's kind of more of a value play. Trading Post obviously very good in the deck with a bunch of artifact creatures because you have a bunch of utility in the different chains that you can generate. He also has Mindslaver and Staff of Nim that he can find through Treasure Mage. So he's got a Grand Architect and Heartless Summoning to reduce the cost of some value artifact creatures, and then he has a Trading Post kind of backup plan. So a lot of different stuff going on here.
Now let me ask you this, since you obviously have the deck list in front of you and I have Corbett's. Corbett's deck is pretty straightforward. Put a bunch of Mana Dorks into play, cast a giant threat, kill you. What can Josh do to stop that?
I mean, I actually think these games are going to be kind of like just two ships passing in the night. They both have a ton of ramp and not a lot of ways to interact with one another. So I think going first is a big deal, and then having the correct accelerants are a big deal. And Beck off to a great start here, being on the play with turn 2 Heartless Summoning, and then Perilous Mirror to kill a Mana Accelerant.
I would say that's like the biggest deal.
Yeah, it can't have a much better start than that.
Yeah. So we're going to see a Glimmer Post from Corbett, putting him up to 21. 2 Manars.
A Zenith for 1, presumably to find another Accelerant.
We'll see which one he opts to go with. All right,
Llanowar Elf.
Now, some of you guys might be wondering why he does have white mana in his deck, and it's for Gavany Townships. For when he does Flood, maybe he doesn't draw Zenith or a Primeval Titan or something, he can still make his guys relevant.
And there's a Solemn again. Now it's a 1/1 that costs only 2 to play because of the Heartless Summoning.
Heartless Summoning, obviously a very powerful card.
Yeah.
I was kind of interested that it never really broke through the way that we thought. Maybe we thought it would.
I mean, the big part of the problem is once your deck is actually built around Heartless Summoning, it's often basically non-functional in games you don't have Heartless Summoning. And if you try to hedge and make your deck reasonable in the times where you don't have Heartless Summoning, then the deck isn't powerful enough when it does have its best draws. I think it's kind of suffered from that sort of problem. But his deck isn't completely all in on Heartless Summoning because he also has just a Grand Architect, Haven Ghoulish, and a Trading Post package. So there's a lot of different powerful stuff his deck can do.
Okay.
Even if it doesn't draw Heartless Summoning. To me, at least, that was always the biggest problem with the deck. Was if you don't have Heartless Summoning on turn 2, your deck, like, what do? You go turn 4, Solemn into turn 5, Wormcoil is like the best thing you can do.
Sure.
And it's just not good enough,
So you see an Elvish Archer here, and we do not have a third land for Corbett.
Yep.
In a deck that plays for 23.
23 lands plus 16 mana creatures.
Yeah. It is mana hungry.
I mean, there's mana hungry, and then there's that. That's a different sort of thing. Also, Beck has found a 4th land here. He missed his 3rd land drop, but was able to get off with Solemn. I believe he has Wormcoil Engine in hand.
He does have Wormcoil Engine. He also does have Treasure Mage in his hand, so he does have options. We're going to see him tap out for Wormcoil Engine, which is a 5/5 instead of typically a 6/6, and we see the 1/1 Solemn coming in. I think I'd much rather take one than give him another card. So.
Yep. Again, Corbett is much more about just... I mean, his deck is not about getting in like random points of damage or nickel and diming. It's a lot more about going over the top. So
yes.
This
entire archetype
getting a random blocker off the table isn't that relevant. He's trying to overwhelm. Think of it much more as like a goblin style deck, even though it's green, as opposed to like a Sly style deck. He's trying to overwhelm the board, not nickel and dime for random points.
Yeah. Getting a point in here and a point, getting a point in there and a point in here and a point in there, excuse me, is fairly relevant when your Creative Behemoth is giving all of your guys like +7/+7
right, yeah.
and trample.
You have a lot of wiggle room when that's your end game.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, that being said, Wormcoil Engine certainly still matters. That's not like
of course.
We're ignoring this because we can go over the top easily.
We're gonna see. It looks to be a Green Sun for 1.
Yeah, I mean at this point he just wants to find more elves to get the Archdruid up and running.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Especially because he hasn't drawn very many lands this game. He just wants to get as many elves as possible, so the Archdruid is going to be tapping for a boatload of mana, and then he can power out his large threats. Now the things Corbett has in his endgame outside of those Zeniths, or the things that he can Zenith for, he has 4 Primeval Titans in his deck, 3 Sword of Feast and Famine. He has a Thrag Tusk to make a guy, a Wolfir Silver to make a guy relevant. A Thrag Tusk to gain life if he needs to. And do my eyes deceive me?
Do he have something fancy?
No, he's less fancy.
What's he missing?
The Creator of Behemoth looks to be in the sideboard
Wow.
instead of in the main deck.
And there's a Palladium Mirror, for those of you that is, who have not seen Corbett play one of his many Palladium Mirror decks before. That is a 3-mana Grey Ogre plus Soul Ring. So
The king of the Palladium Mirror. Corbett
just
Gray.
another ramp. Another, you know, you can go turn 1, Mana Accelerant into turn 2, Palladium Mirror into turn 3, 6 mana now, Primeval Titan, Xena for 5 to go get a Silver Heart, whatever. Opens up a ton of plays.
Yes.
So there's a 5th land.
Considering his options, Josh is, and you see that in Corbett's hand he has a Sword of Feast and Famine. I think he has another Zenith in his hand too.
Yeah,
And
so
I
he's
see
got
Primeval
he's got a
Titan,
ton
too.
of power.
And we see Worm Coil is going to be coming on in.
So we're gonna see, I believe we're gonna see a Treasure Mage here. Yep, again, getting in on the discount because of the Heartless summoning.
Let's see what he searches for.
So it looks like is that a Staff of Nim?
That is a Staff and Nim, which is something that's not going to come down this turn, but Staff and Nim is interesting here because I think at this point it's like a little bit too slow for the
Yes.
King ability to really. I mean, he obviously has Eldritch Archer in play to counteract it, but it's a little too slow to get all of these guys off the board anyway. Because I mean, 6 mana is a large investment. If you're not dealing with Grand Arbiter, it's not really going to work the way that you want it to and have
Yeah.
an impact in time. But I mean, drawing an extra card a turn is nothing to sneeze at either.
Yeah, it's weird because he did have an option there of going for just like Treasure Mage for another Worm Coil, play another Worm Coil. But I would have to assume he believes that whatever Corbett is up to is going to go over the top of just like a couple random Worm Coils.
Sure.
There's just like way too much mana in play. I think to suspect like that's going to be enough to get the job done.
Are there any Phyrexian Metamorphs hiding out in Josh's deck?
He's got 4.
Okay, there's one of them.
All right, so we're going to have a copy. So we have another Worm Coil.
Because I guess something that is also a realistic possibility is him like playing Staff, metamorphing it. Then he can shoot down these
The
elves.
Archtroop and then start containing the
Yeah,
board.
and then start containing the board, and while drawing 3 cards a turn. So that's like a realistic possibility.
Yeah, but I think we're about to see a big turn from Gray here. I had to assume. This is 1 million mana. I suspect that we're gonna probably are we Zenithing for Primeval here? Like the problem is that we can't really get Silver Heart for any value right now because the Worm Coils are sort of
Yeah,
like, there's no way we can attack.
Yeah,
So.
that's what kind of surprised me when I looked over the deck list. Is we didn't have a ton of time to look over the deck list before the match began, so I just assumed because Corbett and Travis both play this deck that there was just a Creator of Behemoth in their main deck.
Yeah.
I just assumed that would be there for situations like this, where he needs to go over the top to kill you,
Yeah.
and he doesn't have one in his deck.
Right. I mean, you can argue, I guess, that Worm Coil Engine isn't a big part of the metagame or whatever, but you can easily see this kind of situation coming up against a Birthing Pod deck, right?
Yes.
Where it's like the ground is clogged, just having a random Primeval Titan as an attacker is not going to be enough to get through whatever's going on, So even though Worm Coil is kind of a random card at this point in the metagame, you can easily imagine situations similar to this coming up against other decks.
Yes. Now, to be fair, one of the ways that he can't go over the top, it's a little bit slower and it's not as impactful, is he can go find, a Gavany Township or 2, and then activating them with all of the spare mana he has in play is not very difficult for him to do. It's going to take a little bit longer as you see him get a Gavany Township and a Glimmer Post, putting himself up to 17. But, I mean, he definitely has outs to the situation. But as you said, like in this matchup, it's basically, these 2 guys are goldfishing. Let's see who can do their powerful thing as fast as they can. So activating Township a bunch of time is much slower than just going Cradle of Behemoth, dead.
Right.
And so, because he doesn't have that option to him in his deck, Josh is going to have more time to, you know, finagle around with his Blue-Black Heartless Summoning deck and put himself in a position where it doesn't matter what Corbett does.
Yeah, there's also the threat. Beck has a single copy of Mindslaver, and given how clogged up these boards are, Mindslaver would be devastating because he would just lose his Archdruid, and presumably the Primeval Titan in whatever attack Beck forced him to make. If he's got a random Zenith, any Zeniths in his hand just get like bricked off for no value. Like, so Corbett actually does have to win the game relatively quickly because Mindslaver is like a pretty dangerous potential card.
Yeah, it's a very, very real thing. Bring up a very, very good point. He only has one in his deck, right?
Right. It's just a Treasure Mage target.
Okay.
Now combat gets a little bit harder for Beck right now because the Heartless summonings are making it such that his Worm Coil is simply suicide into a Primeval Titan instead of trading.
Well, no, they'll still trade because Death
Oh,
Touch.
Death Touch, sorry,
Touch,
yes.
sure. So, I mean, the attackers...
Sometimes I forget because it's like, why does a 6/6 have Death Touch? Like, 6/6 have Death Touch because they're 6/6s.
Sure, sure.
But, yes.
But he can do it all.
Right. Man, that guy doesn't mess around.
Yeah, I mean, no reason not to get in there and get your 10 life. I mean, I can conceivably see a reason to sit back because now like Corbett is just going to be like, all right, bash you with like all my dudes.
So I assume Corbett just took the hit.
Yeah, he just took the 10. I don't think he has any reason to start chump blocking yet. As we see Trading Post enter play, and now Brad Nelson.
Now we're going crazy.
Brad Nelson could not be happier right now as we're going to get our value from our Solemn Simulacrum. Give me that card.
I assume we're getting back our Perilous Mirror.
We
our
are.
Perilous Mirror is going to shoot down the Archdruid, I assume.
That would be my guess. That's going to take care of that. So now we're taking a little trip to value time.
Yeah. Now angles within angles.
You think you know, but you have no idea.
Right.
This is the diary of Trading Post.
But that actually, I mean, you know, that seems fairly innocuous because, like, what does it matter that he shrunk his mana down when he has Primeval Titan and a bunch of accelerants? But there's no shortage of things that Gray can do with his mana once Primeval Titan's like found another Gavany Township.
Yeah.
He actually can still use more mana even though he has Primeval Titan plus Soul Ring Guy plus 4 other mana accelerants plus 4 lands in play.
Yeah, there's plenty.
We still could use more mana.
Yeah, at no point is he going to be like, man, I have all this mana, there's nothing I can do with it. Ugh. Yeah, it's just not going to happen.
So yeah, Trading Post fits in very naturally to a Heartless Summoning Skeleton because you basically want to have a bunch of artifact creatures, so you have artifacts plus creatures to do those kind of shenanigans. And you want to have a bunch of stuff that has either comes into play or leaves play value to sacrifice or recur with Trading Post. So it fits in very naturally to with the types of cards you would also want to play with Heartless Summoning.
Agreed. Agree 100%. You know, it just becomes a matter of what this game is basically going to boil down to, in my opinion, and you can definitely correct me if I'm wrong, is can Josh execute everything that he wants to do? You know, he has the Trading Post now. You know, he's got Worm Coil engines. Now he can start sacrificing, doing all this stuff. He has Buried Ruin. You know, we know he has a Staff in his hand. Can he get everything out of his hand and be able to do everything he wants to every turn?
Yeah.
In time before Corbett basically accumulates like a critical mass with these townships.
Yeah. Fortunately, the Worm Coils do give him a lot of breathing space.
Yes.
And he has, he can both attack with Worm Coil, then sacrifice Worm Coil, and have 2 blockers on the way back to suck up some attacks. So
as we see a sort of feast and famine here from Corbett on a Trampler, which is ideal, as we're going to see a Primeval Titan coming in with a trigger, searching for what I would believe is going to be, he has 1 source of white mana for the first township. I figure he's going to get at least another township, maybe another white source of mana. Sure.
Right.
So there's our Razor
in theory, he could cover it with the Pilgrims, but I assume he won't be in a position where he can attack with everything and use 2 townships without having to leave a mana creature back to activate the second time.
Yeah. And now Sword of Feast and Famine is going to hit him. These lands are going to untap, so there's going to be at least 1 township activation, potentially 2, at some point before Corbett takes his next turn. And
you just saw Mindslaver get discarded.
I guess that's not that big of a deal because he does have Trading Post to get it back.
And Buried Ruin, he has the ability to get it back.
Was a little bit surprising to see that go to the graveyard, though.
Yep.
and he's just going to pass it back. So
Right.
just want to make sure I have the math correct. It does look like we can have 2 township activations at the end step for on Josh's end step for Corbett at the very least on this turn.
So I assume it's still attractive to ship with the worm coils.
I would think so. I mean,
Yeah,
I
it's
can't,
like,
I
can't
can't
really
see
go
him
that
sitting
wrong,
back.
right?
Yeah. I mean, if they die, it's a positive. You can get them back with Trading Post. I think it's just all upside to keep attacking. Corbett is at 10, so this is a lethal attack.
So now the question is, are you just chumping here, or are you trying to actually make some traction on his worm coils? I assume you just want to chump, but...
Well, I mean, you're not really going to make any traction on the worm coils because, double blocking is just going to get all your guys dead. Every guy that you block with is dying.
And Trading Post is still there to rebuy.
Yeah.
So he's just going to chump 1 and go down to 5?
Go down to 5 and then
Makes
activates
sense.
that, yep. And Josh is going to go back to 37.
So let's see, I assume we're going to be seeing some posting up post-combat here.
Well, we know that he has Stefan in his hand. What else do we know? We see 6 mana being tapped here. I think this is just going to be Staff. Yep.
I'm not a huge fan of staffing here.
I mean, depending on the other card that's in his hand that we can't really see very well, I mean, maybe the action that he has just isn't very good.
But it's still going to be better to, or maybe it's not necessarily better. This feels some amount risky, right? Like, if you just Trading Post one of your worm coils, then you have 2 guys on the way back. Like, there's a chance he just dies here from the attacks, right?
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23. I see 23 damage on the board. Township would add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 28 right now.
I mean, maybe he's far enough range. It feels...
I mean, I understand.
Like, this game's not going to go on.
Exactly where you're coming from.
This game's not going to go on for enough turns where Staff of Nim is going to be like, oh, I'm dragging the game out and getting value this way. It's like, that's not the game that's being played right now.
Yeah, I agree with, like, if looking back a turn previously when Corbett got his initial hit in with the sort of Feast and Famine, if you were going to play a card that did not affect the board immediately, and that's exactly what Josh did when he tapped out for Staff of Nin, I think you'd much rather have it be Mindslaver, because Mindslaver is going to affect the board much more the next turn than Staff of Nin is going to.
Correct. Like, imagine if Corbett's staring down Mindslaver this turn, it's like, well, I either win this turn or I bust. There's no...
Yeah, I have to do something, like, incredible this turn.
Right. Whereas, like, in theory, Corbett can still, like, attack for some amount of value, leave enough back to chump, and drag out the game for a couple more turns.
Keep getting his township activations.
Yeah. Actually get some momentum. Although I guess there's also an argument on the other side that the Staff of Nin sort of provides some degree of inevitability because he has Perilous Mirror in the graveyard, which can also just dome Corbett out. So if he's able to hold off for, staff, and then get Perilous Mirror. But the fact that Corbett still presumably has another, Glimmer Post in his deck means that line's also cut off.
You see him getting Razor Edge Stick, and I would be very surprised if he wasn't reaching for a Glimmer Post here.
Well, I mean, he still has Primeval Titan attack.
Okay, sure. So he can get the other one that way. Good point.
Yeah, but if there was a Mindslaver staring at him, it's like, what do you do? Like, if you don't kill me this turn, you can't win,
He's just going to, if he doesn't kill him this turn, if there's a Mindslaver in play, you tap all the guys for mana. I mean, probably doesn't attack with the Titans. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. He can come to that decision when he wants to. But, yeah, I agree with what you're saying. See how many guys he's going to attack with?
Yeah, he still needs to hold some guys back to chump.
Yeah, for sure. And he is going to, assuming that he does search out a Glimmer Post this turn, he is going to go up to 9.
Yeah.
And there's the Glimmer Post and the other thicket, so he can keep activating his townships without having to use his mana dorks. And the sword is going to hit Josh to make him discard his card. And there's going to be an untap because of the sword. So the townships are still going to be getting active.
Yeah, I think Beck's play makes a little bit more sense to me if all 4 of the Glimmer Posts were out of his deck, and you're actually like kind of threatening. You're threatening lethal in a turn or 2.
Yeah.
But with Corbett still able to get the 4th Glimmer Post, it just seems like the odds of the Staff of Nim gets you anywhere seem pretty low to me. Certainly in comparison to Mindslaver.
Yeah, I think there's one of the things that made that, you know, if Josh looks back on this game and watches it, is just, you know, where he's sitting. I think that his focus was so much on, like, he killed the Elvish Archdruid, and then by killing that, it made all of the mana dorks 1 toughness, and it's like, oh well, Staff is just going to start killing all the 1 mana tough, all the 1 toughness guys that are in play. But realistically, that wasn't actually going to happen.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe he just didn't change his focus in time. I mean, it looks as though he didn't, and didn't understand just how important Mindslaver was going to be for him this game.
Yeah. Mindslaver, traditionally good in cluttered boards.
I mean, that's where you want to be. We see a block here with the Treasure Mage.
Yeah, we're just chumping.
A lot of damage coming in. I mean, all that being said, this game isn't over.
Oh, no.
Yeah. As we see Mir Superior being discarded to the Treasure Mage. And now an Arbor Elf post-combat. I believe he has enough mana for at least 2 activations.
Arbor Elf, entertainingly enough, unable to actually untap anything. Corbett with 0 forests in play.
Impressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
In his essentially mono green deck, 0 forests in play.
Arbor Elf is just vanilla.
Yeah. So Staff is going to dome. Staff shoots Corbett end of turn instead of the Arbor Elf, which is I think pretty clearly correct.
Yeah.
Since he's not going to get the Arbor Elf. 2 cards coming for Josh. So they're going to have to be 2 good ones. We don't have a great look at what they are.
Still gotta send, right?
Yeah, I mean, it can't stop attacking.
Yeah. We are priced in at this point.
I don't think anything has changed where he can stop attacking. Another thing that Corbett can do, I'm just going to block 1. The thing I was going to say, the thing that Corbett could do conceivably is block with the 2, the Evanston's Pilgrim and the Llanowar Elf. Block them both.
Yeah.
Trade with them, but then he gets 4 guys. I don't think you want 4 guys in play, as Corbett's going to go down to 3 from the attack.
Yeah, he's not really getting that much efficiency out of trading off of the Worm Coils because he just gets to rebuy.
Yeah.
All right, so
this is going to get back Perilous Mirror. Perilous Mirror is. Yeah, sure. Yeah, Corbett
just let one of them through.
Corbett let one of them through, gets back Perilous Mirror. Perilous Mirror shoots him for 2. Staff kills him, takes him to 1. Or Staff kills him.
So perhaps Beck had the read on the situation after all. Oh, Corbett.
The contingent. Down a game. Down a game.
Whoa. And Beck's got some hate for this matchup.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
We're looking at, he has access to 4 copies of Mental Misstep, 3 copies of Black Sun Zenith, 3 Doomblades, and a Contagion engine.
Here's the engine?
Yeah, he has a Contagion engine as a Treasure Mage target.
Sweet Caroline.
So, for those of you who did not play a lot of Scars of Mirrodin Limited, this card, if your deck is a bunch of creatures, is unbeatable. And
yeah.
The Green Summer is, as the name would suggest, a bunch of dudes. So that is a pretty big upgrade over, I would say, Mindslaver and Staff of them. Those cards aren't even bad, but Contagion Engine is just...
Yeah, Contagion Engine
that's just the end of the game.
Yeah, that's the end boss. Like, they don't want to see that. I want to see the look on Corbett's face when Josh is like, Treasure Mage, all right, what are you going to go get? I've seen Staff of Nen, I've seen, oh God. You're searching for what?
So yes, in that position, for those of you who just needed a recap, or if the end of the game was a little confusing there, I think Corbett decided not to double block, just to try to keep his board up and be able to attack. But between Staff of Nim and Perilous Mirror in the graveyard through Trading Post, Beck had 3 points of damage on board. So with Corbett at 8, the 5 that he took from the Worm Coil coming through, and then combined with the 3 points from the Staff and the Perilous Mirror, finished the game off.
Taking a look at Corbett's sideboard, Craterhoof Behemoth, I would be very surprised if it did not come in, based on what we think is going to happen in this matchup.
Certainly that game would have been a lot different if Corbett could have Zenith for a Behemoth instead of getting a redundant Titan.
Yes. I would assume, and I've been wrong before, we'll be wrong again, that, you know, Craterhoof Behemoth is an easy swap for either the Wolf or Silverheart or the Thragtusk.
Yeah, the Silverheart is not very impressive in a matchup where your opponent's sort of like gumming down the board.
Yeah.
Also, we have a exclusive Return to Ravnica preview that we're actually going to be showing at the end of this round. Glenn Jones over the sideboard has it, and so we'll be kicking it over to him once this round's over.
As in one we haven't seen before?
Correct.
Is that true? As in one we haven't seen before? Spoiler? Ooh.
Yeah, an actual spoiler.
I'm priced in.
Yeah. Now
I'm very interested.
Yeah.
They didn't tell me this was going to happen. This is like genuine surprise.
You were in the bathroom at the time.
All right, that's my own fault.
That's
fine.
There's a lesson learned here.
Yeah, don't leave the desk ever.
Just don't ever leave.
The other things that Corbett can bring in very quickly, he has 2 Beast Withins, which are coming in.
One would assume, yes.
They're coming in. And then a Crushing Vines, which would presumably come in as well. But who cares? Return to Ravnica? Woo! I'm excited.
Preview time.
I'm excited. Is it Armageddon? Did they reprint Armageddon?
Probably not.
Could they please reprint Armageddon?
I don't know. Probably not in like the gold set. It's like,
what if it costs white?
probably not appropriate for the gold set, right?
All right, what if it's hybrid white, hybrid white, hybrid white, hybrid white? Then can they reprint it? Is that okay? And they just put a Selesnya stamp on it for funsies.
I think it's I think that card's net downside for fun.
Fun for me.
Well, winning's fun.
It's fun for the person casting it.
Generally speaking, yes. Unfortunately, this is something that a dilemma where you run in all the time as a game designer. Unfortunately, people have opponents, and you have to factor in their emotional response to things as well.
That's why I'm not in game design, Patrick. Yeah. That's why I'm not in game design.
That's the unfortunate thing. Games have 2 people, and there's a winner and a loser, and people have different experiences. So
okay, that's fair. As we see both players shuffling up, moving into game 2, Corbett will be on the play. I think that we can both agree that what happened at the end of the last game was a bit of a blunder on his end, as far as mathematically and just analyzing the game state.
Right.
So now we get in a situation of you've made a blunder, and you've made a blunder on camera. You know, the people at home are all watching. We're commentating on it. Those things may be running through his mind right now. How is he going to respond after making an error, like that on camera?
I don't know if he's anything like me. He just shrugs his shoulders and moves on.
I mean, that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do. But you know, it affects some people. So we'll see. Yeah. You know, what's going to happen in this next game and potentially the third game to see, you know, how he responds, you know, emotionally and how his play is affected. As we see Josh moving down to 6 cards here.
Yep. It's actually Beck has so much. I'm not even sure if he was like. Obviously, gunning for the mono green beatdown deck is probably not what he was trying to do here. But he actually has so many cards that he could theoretically bring in that I'm not even sure what he's supposed to take out.
Yeah, because his deck is like more of an engine deck where you don't really want to cut cards from the engine.
Like he has 4 Gitaxian Probes in the sideboard. I'm not sure what the deal is with that, but assuming those aren't on the table, he has 11 very good cards against Corbett's deck.
Sure.
So I'm not even sure he could find 11 cards to cut. Like, you could cut, like, what? Mirror Superior, maybe you don't want Haven Ghoul Lich, like, maybe you cut either Staff or Mindslaver, whichever target you think is the weaker Treasure Maid target. Even then, I'm still struggling, like,
I mean, the tough part here for him is, like, the Haven Ghoul Lich plus Perilous Mirror combo when you have Heartless Summoning in play, it's just, like, gun down all the elves, and then start gunning you down. So, I mean, it's tough to reason boarding that out.
Yeah, no, it's not even. Yeah, exactly. The Lich isn't even necessarily bad.
Yeah. As we see a turn 1 Llanowar Elf business time coming on in. We're probably gonna see some more mana dorks here. We got a bird. We've got another 1 mana dork.
This would be a very good time for Black Sun Zenith.
For how much exactly? Because it's gonna cost 3.
Yeah. Uno. So now we'll see if Gray has anything to capitalize on his. This is not a good sign if he's attacking one of the elves.
That's not a good sign.
That was supposed to be a prime time or something along those lines.
Yeah, some sort of large zenith or something like that. As we're going to see a Palladium Mirror, the one and only. Can't zenith that.
Yeah. So now we're all dressed up, but we don't have anywhere to go. Oh no, the humanity.
And even a counter on the Palladium Mirror too.
Although even with getting 3 mana creatures killed on turn 3, he still has enough mana to cast Primeval Titan or even Zenith.
Yeah, if he has a land in his hand, he still has enough.
Fine.
Yeah, he still has enough mana to.
I think
to prime time it up.
I think we can safely assume it's not there because I would have rather cast Primeval Titan than bash for 2 and play Soul Ring Dude, but
I like that. I like that's what you call Soul Ring Dude. He has a name.
Palladium Mirror. Grey Ogre plus Soul Ring. Boom.
This is not good. Not a good sign.
One could argue we are not capitalizing sufficiently on the amount of mana that we've generated.
I know that Corbett has a Crushing Vines in his hand, just looming, ready to destroy the first artifact that's going to come into play.
Don't worry, it'll be a Contagion Engine that kills all your guys. And then you can pull that up, I guess.
As Josh is considering his options, we don't have a good look at his hand. I mean, at 4, he could have something along the lines of Trading Post. I think if he had a Heartless Summon, he would have cast it by now. There's Solemn Simulacrum.
Probably not going to Crushing
Vines,
which is
that something you're probably not going to crush, no. And now we're getting into the territory where Crushing Vines is going to its options are going to be Solemn Simulacrum or Wormcoil Engine, which is just lose all around.
Yep. And Beck's hand is loaded. There's at least 2 Treasure Mages in there.
He just needs to get his mana online now. We're going to see another Glimmer Post from Corbett, bringing him up to either 22 or 23, I believe. I don't think he's taking any damage this game. And we have a Wolf or a Silverheart.
Yep.
All right, we've got a fighter.
I presume this will induce a block. Unless he would have, he would have to have, probably he would have to have some reason to sack it for that to, or some way to sack it for value for him to be not willing to accept that trade, or that chump block, rather.
So Josh drew a Ponder off of that, and we saw him draw a Drawn Catacomb for his turn. See if he has a big 6-mana threat. He does.
Yeah. And this is the reason that I'm not a huge fan of Silverheart in this matchup, is there's just too much. Like, Beck's deck is too good at clogging up the ground or making it impossible for non-trampling attackers to get in.
No, agreed. It's not very hard for Beck's deck to stop a big doofus that doesn't trample.
Right.
At all. You know, he's got Perilous Mirror, he's got Wormcoil
Trading
Solemn.
block, Trading Post, my guy. You need tramplers to punch through this.
And so now this is just before damage he's going to Crushing Vines it so that he's able to get in for 5 with Perilous Mirror. But even still,
this is not awesome.
This is not awesome. It's something that has to be done, but it's not awesome. It does prevent Silverheart from dying. It prevents Wormcoil from gaining life. But again, he's basically in the same situation next turn now.
Yes. Well, in theory, if he has another way to shatter the Death Touch guy, he's still in a good attacking position.
Yes, I would agree with that.
But if he can't, then he actually can't. He can't even alpha really, because I guess he can send just the Perilous Mirror is still fine. But because if he sends both, he loses both, right?
Yes.
Like Death Touch goes in front of Silverheart.
Yes. Might be. We know that Josh has 2 Treasure Mages in his hand. I think he's probably just trying to figure out if he wants to cast Treasure Mage, what he's going to search for.
I like getting a Contagion Engine.
We know you like the engine. It's the humiliation of the engine. I think,
that is a big motivating factor. Yes.
Considering his options, he also has a Ponder in his hand.
Right, so he might want to lead with Ponder also.
And we just saw Grand Architect in his hand as well, so he actually does have a bevy of options to consider here. There's nothing entirely clear-cut about this.
Yep, he is. There's many different paths he can take with his hand here. All right, there's Grand Architect. So Grand Architect actually has quite a bit of business to it here, so we're going to hopefully be able to pull that up on the screen momentarily.
Yeah, it's been a little while since I've actually seen Grand Architect. A refresher certainly couldn't hurt. I mean, when I think of Grand Architect, I think of Nick Spagnuolo.
Yep.
And his love for that card. As you see, Treasure Mage is going to search for a Wormcoil Engine. Grand Architect will be on the screen momentarily, just for those who, like myself, need a refresher on exactly what it does, because there are a lot of text on that card.
I know it both makes mana to be spent on artifacts and also has a Crusade mode as well.
As we see, I believe
the Lifelinker
is going to get in, of course, holding the Death Touch one back.
It's a good attack by Beck, because he's still holding off the Alpha Strike in the same way.
And this is the attack that you thought that was going to happen.
Right. I think
Gray.
he still should get. I'm pretty sure he should still get a Death Touch guy in there because he has another Worm Coil as backup.
Yeah. We're gonna see a 1-mana Dork pairing up
So we
with
have a
Silverheart.
Yep. So they're bonded up. Gray, it looks like down to 1 card in his hand, probably a land or a similar blank.
Yeah, there's just not a ton that's going to save Corbett here. Realistically, I'm trying to think of what are his best draws at this point. I mean, Primeval Titan is a fine draw, but Primeval Titan doesn't really favor up, doesn't really fight Wormhole Engine very well.
So there is, you can see their Grand Architect on the screen. It's a crusade for blue guys. Turns artifact creatures into blue creatures, and you can tap blue creatures, including itself, to cheapen the cost of artifacts by 2.
Correct. As we see another Treasure Mage coming into play, searching for what I would assume is another Wormcoil engine, potentially the Contagion engine that Patrick is dying to see.
Oh, boo! Come on.
Sorry about that whammy, Patrick.
Where's the excitement in this? We've seen games won with Wormcoil engine before. I know this song and dance.
It's fun for one side, not fun for the other.
Right. But if you're going to put on a show, put on a show.
Treasure Mage tapping for that. Ponder going to resolve.
Probably would have led with...
I think I would have led with Ponder.
Right.
Before that.
If you know that you're going to commit a mana to it, you might as well just do it first. So you have more information, possibly find a better permutation of plays to make.
Agreed.
Keeping 3.
You're just going to pass back.
He has Avacyn's Pilgrim in hand and just drew...
Hiding it well. Razorverge Thicket.
Why do you think he's sandbagging the Pilgrim?
A good question. One that I really don't have an answer to, honestly. I mean, I would say something about Black Sun Zenith, but I don't think that's a relevant card.
You're not beating that card.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
A, you're not beating that card. B, I don't think he's casting it if he were to draw it.
Right. So we have 6 mana.
We got Wormcoil Numero Dos.
Sure.
Attention matching players. Dylan Mentz.
We can send in with this one.
I assume we're just going to take... We're doing something...
He's going to activate Grand Architect's ability.
So we're going to make it a 7/7 here.
I do believe I see another Ponder in Josh's hand as well, and I think we have a Ponder, which he's going to cast here.
Yep.
I think there's also another Perilous Mirror hiding. Heartless Summoning. I think the bottom card is a land, and the middle one is a mystery for all of us to see.
I assume we're not in a position... Okay, we're going to keep...
Another Grand Architect.
Sure.
Which is for some reason not... It feels legendary,
Yeah.
but it's not.
So pretty overwhelming board here. I think we might be in a position to start alphaing very soon.
I don't love Josh's sequencing.
I mean, there's a little...
Stuff like that. Yeah. But, I mean, outside of that, he's basically gotten himself into a board position where it's very unlikely that he's going to lose. But I mean, that being said, his sequencing is just a little poor with his pondering. And if he would have pondered first, another Grand Architect would have been into play, and then
would have been another point. Maybe something else could have attacked.
Yeah. We draw a Heartless Summoning here, and we have a third Grand Architect.
Sure. No reason not to.
I believe Battle Zones engage.
Yeah, I think it's time to just get in there. Get in. Yeah, everything.
Even the lifelinker.
Yeah, there we go. Get them all in.
Corbett going to go through the motions here, but
he's gonna... This is not gonna be a pretty conclusion.
It will not
for Corbett.
I agree. I want to apologize to you that you didn't get to see the Contagion engine.
I know. I don't even know if he boarded it in.
I think that I could
really
really
tell.
tell.
All right, there's a concession.
I could really tell that it meant a lot to you to see it happen.
Josh Beck, good win, but come on, man.
Josh Beck victorious over Corbett Gray.